Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to tackle a big one, something that's pretty much all over the modern web: React. Let's demystify it. So, have you ever stopped and wondered, how do sites like Facebook, Netflix, or Airbnb build these massive, super interactive user interfaces? You know, the ones you use every single day. It kind of feels like magic, right? But there's a very specific technology behind a lot of them. And that's where this comes in. For a huge chunk of the modern web, the answer is a tool called React. It really is the engine behind so many of the websites and apps you're clicking on every day. And if you go right to the source, the official definition gets straight to the point. It calls itself the Library for Web and Native User Interfaces. Now, the two keywords to really grab onto there are library and user interfaces. It's not trying to do everything. It has one very specific job: to build the stuff you actually see and interact with on your screen. Okay, so React builds UIs, got it. But how does it actually do that? Well, to really get it, you have to understand its single most important core idea: components. Honestly, the absolute best way to think about components is like digital Legos. Yeah, seriously. Each little piece, like a search bar, a profile picture, a like button, is its own independent, reusable block. You build these little blocks first, and then you just snap them together to build out whole pages. And actually making one of these Legos is surprisingly straightforward. You just start with a basic JavaScript function. Then, right inside that function, you write what looks almost exactly like HTML. This weird hybrid thing is called JSX, and it's just a really easy way to describe what your interface should look like. And from there, you just combine and nest these components to build, well, anything. So take a look at this. This is a great, simple example. What you're seeing is a video component. It's really just a function that returns some of that JSX we just talked about. But look closer. See that video thumbnail thing inside of it? That's another component. And that's the whole magic right there. That's composition. You're literally just snapping those Legos together. Okay, but static Lego blocks are, kind of boring. Modern websites have to be interactive, right? Things need to change. In React, that whole world of interactivity is handled by two really important concepts: props and state. So first up, you've got props, which is just short for properties. Think of props like a one-way street for information. A parent component passes data down to its child component, almost like instructions. So back in our video example, the main page would pass the specific video info down to that video component as a prop. And here's the key: the child can't change it. It's read-only. And then there's state. If props come from the outside, state is the data a component manages all by itself on the inside. It's like the component's own personal memory. So when you, the user, click a button or type something in, the component's state changes. And when that happens, bam, React automatically re-renders it to show the update. That's the secret sauce to making things interactive. This chart here really nails the difference. Props get passed in, and they're immutable, can't be changed. State is managed inside, and it's mutable. It can be changed. And this clean separation, it's absolutely fundamental to building React apps that don't become a tangled mess as they get bigger. All right, so we've got our digital Legos, our components. We know how they get data and how they remember things. Now, let's zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture. How do we go from a few blocks to a full-blown application? So here's something that trips a lot of people up. React is a library, not a framework. What's the difference? Well, it means React is laser-focused on just one job: building the UI. For everything else, like how to go from one page to another or how to handle really complex data, it relies on a whole world of other tools that plug into it. It's ecosystem. And believe me, it's a huge ecosystem. You've got things like Next.js if you want to build a full-stack application. You've got React Router to handle all the navigation in your web app. And this is the really cool part. With React Native, you can take those same skills and build actual, real, native mobile apps for both Android and iOS. And all of that leads to one of React's most famous and powerful promises: learn once, write anywhere. The core ideas, components, props, state, they're the same whether you're building for the web, for a phone, or even for a desktop. So, okay, we've got components, a huge ecosystem, this whole write anywhere idea, but why does any of this actually matter? What's the real-world impact on development today? Well, for one, React never stands still. It's always evolving. I mean, since it came out of Facebook back in 2013, it's gone through huge changes. In 2019, we got hooks, which totally revolutionized how we write components. And right now, the hot new thing is server components, which are completely blurring the lines between the client and the server. It's always pushing forward.
And that constant evolution is precisely why knowing this stuff is so valuable. It's not just about a specific tool. It's about understanding component-based architecture. That's a key skill for any senior engineer. You'll see things like modular design on a resume. That's just a fancy way of saying, I build with components. So learning React is really about learning a fundamental way of thinking that's crucial in the tech industry today.
And you're definitely not alone in this. Think about this. Over 2 million developers visit the React docs every single month. That is just staggering. This isn't just a piece of tech, it's a gigantic global community. They're the ones providing support, building new tools, and constantly pushing the whole thing forward. Which brings us to a really interesting question about the future. With these new server components that can literally run on the server and talk directly to a database, that old clear line between the front end and the back end, it's starting to get really blurry. So the big question is, as React keeps evolving, is that line going to disappear completely? I guess that's something we'll all have to wait and see.